All right, everyone, and welcome back to the Mets Weekly Podcast as we are live at this very moment on YouTube and on X to recap the Mets versus Twins series as well as the latest news and rumors in New York Mets land. But before we get into that, I want to remind everyone to subscribe to the Mets Weekly YouTube channel for new episodes of our show that are recorded live after every single series of games during the regular season. For those of you watching or listening on playback, you want to join the conversation in the future, make sure to turn on those post notifications to know when we go live. For those of you in the live chat right now, I want to let you know we love reading your comments, your questions, your concerns, everything regarding this team. You feel like you're being ignored, you're not. You're just being starred throughout the show. We'll try to pull up as many as we can to keep the flow of the conversation going. Make sure to follow Mets Weekly on X and on TikTok for my co-host right here, Frank's instant reactions following every single regular season game, which are titled the Mets Frankly Post Game. For audio listeners, make sure to follow us on any of your favorite listening platforms to not miss the audio version of new episodes that go up at 9 a.m. the following day. Also, make sure to give us a 5-star review. That would be greatly appreciated. So without further ado, let's get into episode number 127. And it looks like the Mets, not looks like, it actually does. It actually did happen. The Mets are going to be leaving Minnesota on a very sour note after they just finished up a series that was not great baseball whatsoever. And we will get into the specifics of what they did. Frank, I know that you are ready to completely explode. And to be honest, I'm at that level as well, because it was not a good showing. Either way, we do have our third mic joining us, which a lot of people in this chat have missed for quite a while. So Andrew, welcome back. It's been a little bit, but they're playing the Central teams up next. They got St. Louis. That's your time zone. So welcome back. I don't know how long you're going to stay because usually you just disappear out of nowhere and we can never find you. But how's it going? The Mets are playing baseball and they're existing. You know, what do you think?
Yeah, again, it's I pop in and out. You know, you never know when you're going to see me, but yeah, it's not great baseball. But again, they're playing April baseball. Obviously, when one of your best players doesn't show up until May, the new giant mega superstar has been, again, he's still, walking, which, obviously we love, guys that walk. But again, you're still normally finding ways to win. Obviously, this series did not go well. And again, looks like the bats were sleeping in a frozen tundra. Because again, gotta love the scheduling. Whoever made this schedule for the Mets this year, first 9 games, 2 teams you played the most in spring training, and then you go to Minnesota after coming back from Sacramento. So again, there's no easy giveaway to the Mets, but the offense has been anemic, and especially when you're getting guys on base and getting guys in scoring position, but you cannot bring them in. That sounds like a trait from a certain year that we don't want to remember, but again, I'm going to be the positive one because I feel Frank is going to be very angry. So I'm going to be positive and let Frank go crazy. But again, guys, we're in first place. What's there to be mad about? It's okay. Everything's great. Why we got to be so angry? It's only April. Come on. Pete Alonso's going to win MVP. I mean, come on. We're living in a great world right now. What are we talking about? All mad or whatever?
Yeah, that's the one thing that I can't. It's not like I can't stand. It's just I have no time for. Is when I hear, just don't complain at all. Just don't complain at all. You're in first place. Look at your win-loss record. You can't. For me, you can't have it both ways. When people say it's only April, then why is the April record matter for the argument? That's kind of how I view it. And listen, I understand it is early. And no one's sitting here and ruling out this team and they're done and it's over and they're a terrible team. No one's saying that. But if you do accept the type of baseball that they played, especially out of this series, especially today, which was very sloppy, I don't know what to tell you, because if you do accept it, and again, it probably will be handled within the clubhouse, because I do trust the leadership of Carlos Mendoza and David Stearns. But again, if that's the acceptance of baseball just because they're 11-7 and currently sitting in first place, I can't accept that. I'm sorry. You cannot play baseball like this and tell me, well, look at the win-loss record. And we have two fellow Ranger fans in the chat who can attest to that. Every single time this year, I already said it. I already said it last episode. They started off the year 12-4-1. Me, Matt, Evan, these guys in the chat, we were pointing out all the faults in the game. We were pointing out things that needed to be cleaned up. And if they didn't get cleaned up, they were going to end up faltering. Rangers ended up faltering. I'm not saying the Mets are, but there are things that you need to point out. Frank, I don't really want to just gesture it completely to you, because I know that you're just going to rant like into just some kind of a cloud, because there's so much that has happened. But as generalization as the biggest generalization as you can right now, before we recap this series and you can just go full force. I mean, what are you seeing overall from this team? Because I think both of us can agree from watching them closely, and you doing the post-game shows, and me, chopping up the post-game shows and doing all this analysis. I am looking at a team that is using one aspect as a crutch, and that's about it right now, and they're just not playing good baseball.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, not all 11-7s are equal. So, you could say that you're in first place, but, there's a dominant way to get to 11-7, and then there's a not dominant way, a sloppy way to get to 11-7. And that's where they're at right now. Yeah, this is the first time they lost 2 games in a row, hadn't lost a series since opening day, but you were facing a team in Minnesota who, going into the series, was 5-11, and they lost a bunch of guys throughout the series. Correa went down and then kind of came back. Vasquez went down. A bunch of guys were out for the Twins. They were playing super shorthanded, and you know what? The Mets lost some guys here and there too. Don't get me wrong, but overall, this should not be a team that they struggled with as much as they did. And once again, it's kind of the same thing that we're seeing over and over: leaving men on base, failing with runners in scoring position, hitting the ball on the ground. And then we'll get into the recap, but the fundamentals that were just totally botched today, minor league stuff they couldn't do, little league stuff they couldn't do today. We'll get into it, but it's just extremely concerning with just how far off some of the decision-making was by the players on the field, and just really makes me wonder, what is it that these guys actually go over in practice? You just got out of spring training. And you know what? Credit to the Twins in a couple of regards. Number one, they were really struggling with their pitchers fielding the ball. They were throwing the ball all over the place. And then what the Twins did was they had the guys come out early the next day and they did PFP. So they said, you know what? We are not playing right. We need to go back to the basics and practice what we're doing. I don't think the Mets are going to do that, because the Mets' problems are more than PFP. These guys don't even know what position they're playing with the directions that they're going. We had someone in Acuna who legitimately ran the wrong way. He is a second baseman who decided to go cover first base as the guy who rounded first base is flying by Acuna. He blew past him. So who are you going to go cover? The ghost that's now running to first? Because Buxton blew by you, and now the second baseman is not standing on second base. Where did they teach that? Who coached these guys to do stuff like that? So there were more examples, but that was just the one that really, I just feel like epitomized it all. The second baseman who's supposed to cover second base went to cover first base.
But they're 11-7.
But they're 11-7.
So
amazing.
Shut up and take it. Shut up and take it. They're 11-7. Again, that's what I mean. Listen, 162 games are played. If you keep playing like this, things are not going to be falling your way to 11-7, because then 11-7 becomes 11-8, and 11-7 becomes 11-8 becomes 11-9. It's just not a fun watch right now. And even though they're finding ways to win still, it's just throughout this long season, things need to improve. And I don't know what it's going to have to be for them to improve, because there's a lot of issues that they are showing. And I don't want to go to a huge extreme here at all. But I mean, right now, this is looking like the 2021 team, where they had a lot of glaring weaknesses, a lot of pieces of initiative that they did not take, a lot of conservative play, a lot of nail biting and just constant just constant pulling teeth out to score. And it shouldn't be like that, because we know that there's a lot more talent in this lineup. Not to mention being carried completely by your pitching. And we all know what happened to that team in 2021. They started off a few games over 500. They were in first place for a second. And then everything just fell apart. So again, this great 11-7 start or bad 11-7 start, it means nothing to me. Like, the record in April, I really don't care what the record is in April. I care about this team playing winning baseball. Are they winning games? Yes. But they're not playing winning baseball. And they're just using parts of the team as a crutch that they're going to just wear down the stretch of the season if they don't get their shit together. And I feel like, even though it's the beginning of the season, so many times, more than I should, I'm just thinking, please get your head out of your ass. What are you thinking? What, like, seriously, the thought process, the overall philosophy, the overall just I don't know if it's just like you want to say it as a slow start, but this just does not look like good baseball at all. It just, from all aspects, it's just been really, really bad. Now, I do want to recap what we are talking about before we go into some of the notes that we saw throughout this series, because there is plenty of things that did happen, and plenty of, moving parts for everything. But I do want to get into what happened in these three games. Now, as for game one, Clay Holmes would make his fourth start of the year. He would cruise through the first 4 innings, but get into some trouble in the 5th, working around 2 walks and a hit by pitch to load the bases. He would escape the jam, allowing just 1 run to come across to end his day. 5 innings pitched, 2 hits, 1 earned run, 2 walks, 8 strikeouts on 90 pitches. The Mets would open up the scoring as Pete Alonso remained hot with an RBI single in the 3rd to make it 1-0. Mark Vientos would give the Mets a 2-1 lead with an RBI double. He'd come around to score on a throwing error by pitcher Justin Topa to make it 3-1 Mets. Juan Soto would open up the game a bit, launching his 2nd home run as a Met, a 2-run homer, and his first hit with runners in scoring position this year to give us a small sigh of relief. The Mets would also get a multi-hit game from Luis Angel Acuna that included a extra base hit, a bunt single, and a stolen base. And despite going 2 for 12 with runners in scoring position as a team, what else is new? The Mets bullpen would continue its brilliant start to the season. Huskar Brazaban would face 6 batters and retire them all as a part of a scoreless 6th and 7th. Reed Garrett would toss a scoreless 8th. And Ryan Stanek would finish off the game in the 9th to secure the victory in Game 1, 5-1. Game 2, Tyler McGill would make the start and work around base runners all game long, with the defense doing him no favors at all, surrendering 4 runs, 2 of them unearned, following a costly error by shortstop Francisco Lindor. With 2 outs in the 3rd, the high pitch count would end his day after 5 innings, striking out just 3, walking 0 on 95 pitches. Pete Alonso would open the scoring in the 3rd with a solo home run, his 5th of the year. Juan Soto would tie the game with a solo shot of his own in the 4th to tie the game up at 2. Jesse Winker would drive in the Mets' 3rd and final run of the night on a sacrifice fly in the 7th. Max Kranick would struggle for the first time in a Mets uniform, surrendering an earned run in the 6th and in the 7th across an inning and 2/3 of work. to nearly put the game out of reach. Danny Young would pick up the last 4 outs in the 7th and the 8th. The Mets would get the tying run to the plate in the 9th against Yohan Duran, but he would strike out Francisco Lindor to end the game. And the Mets would drop game 2 6-3. Game 3, Huascar Brazaban would open up the game for the Mets and face 4 batters, retire the first 3 for a quick first, but walk the leadoff hitter in the 2nd to end his day. Justin Hagenman would make his major league debut. More on him later. He would get 10 outs in total against 13 batters that he faced, but get charged with an earned run after he exited the game on an RBI single by our old friend Harrison Bader against Jose Butto. And things would get worse for the Mets. Some defensive miscues would plate more runs, including a blown call at first base with the Mets out of challenges to put the Mets down 3-0 in the 6th. But the offense would fight back and would finally get going against Griffin Jax in the 8th after a leadoff single by Francisco Lindor. Pete Alonso would get the Mets on the board with an RBI double. Jesse Winker would make it a 3-2 game with an RBI double of his own, and Luis Angel Acuna would tie the game with an excuse me hit to drive in Winker. Ryan Stanek, AJ Minter, and Edwin Diaz would toss a scoreless inning in relief to help send this game to extra innings, but after the Mets failed to score in the top of the 10th, Ty France would drive in the ghost runner to walk it off for Minnesota against Reed Garrett to hand the Mets a series loss in Game 3, 4-3 in 10 innings. The Mets are now 11-7 on the year, losing back-to-back games for the first time this season. Lots to unpack from this series. It started off on relatively a high note-ish, kinda, and then, just like we said, just sloppy. Like, I understand you're getting a quantity of wins, but the quality of play has just been abysmal, and I'm not going to sit here and just completely ignore it. Frank, and I know you're not going to do this either, and you have every right not to either, because they have been playing terrible baseball. They really have been. And the fact that they are 11-7, it's because of the pitching staff, which everybody said sucked, right? Go figure. Stearns knows what he's doing with that, obviously. But again, when it comes to the offense, when it comes to the defense, them just overall fundamentally, they have had their heads up their asses since opening day. And nobody can completely deny that, whether you want to tell me they're 11-7 or not, or in first place or not. They have not played good baseball. And if you keep playing shitty baseball like this, eventually it's going to catch up to you. Frank?
No doubt about it, because, keep in mind, they're yet to play like an elite team. We talk about, they faced the Marlins, they faced the Athletics, they faced the Blue Jays, they faced the Twins, they faced the Astros opening day. But, you haven't faced the Dodgers yet, you haven't faced the Padres yet, or, teams that are actually really good. So this 11-7, that's what I'm saying. Not every 11-7 is the same. Some teams play really good teams. Some teams are playing not so great teams. So have they taken advantage of their schedule a little bit? Maybe. But despite the 11-7 record, at any point this season, they have not done well with runners in scoring position. They have not done well with runners on base. And everybody not named Pete Alonso has struggled when there are men on, no matter who it is. Whether you're getting paid $700,000 or $765 million, everyone is having issues when it comes to getting runners in. And is a lot of its approach, like you mentioned, with swinging at first pitch sometimes when you shouldn't, hitting the ball on the ground a insane amount. The amount of double plays these guys hit into. And, a lot of it is because, like we've talked about, the speed is not great. So you have these guys who are supposed to be premier power hitters. Juan Soto, a guy that's got, 40 home run potential. So far, he's got 3. Lindor, 30 home run potential. So far, he has 1. Vientos, 30 home run potential. So far, he has 0. So if you have these guys who are supposed to be big home run hitters, and I said this before, not hitting home runs, then what are they doing? They're not doing what they're capable of, because if they're not hitting their home runs, they're not going to get it other ways because they don't have the speed to do it. They're here for power. So you have a lot of guys that just don't really know what they're doing right now. And the same goes for Nimmo a little bit. He's gotten some home runs to go off, but he's really just not who he used to be at all. He is not the Brandon Nimmo that we once knew and got paid the money. Because what kind of hitter is he? I mean, he's pulling the ball, but that's not why we loved him. Like, that was not what Nimmo was. He was a guy that was very high on base percentage, kind of hit the ball all around, was good with men on. Now he's a guy that, like, he hits you a solo home run every now and then. That's mostly it. That's mostly all he's doing. His speed that he once had, whatever, that's gone. He's got 0 stolen bases. You had a play today where Brandon Nimmo hits it to the second baseman. Second baseman drops it, picks it back up, and still throws Nimmo out because Nimmo doesn't really have all that much speed. So he's another one that, what exactly is his strength at the plate? And then as far as the DHs, I mean, Gabriel is talking about in the chat, but the main guy, Marte, we knew this going into the season, but I mean, he's really bad.
No,
like,
we didn't. I'm surprised. I'm so surprised. I had no idea. We've never talked about this before. I don't even know who Starling Marte is. Please elaborate.
No, I mean, he's hitting 167 on the season. So he's just been abysmal. And, you know, he's another guy. He's stolen 1 base so far, and he doesn't really get on base that often to steal them anyway. And just a lot of these guys, as we know, Brett Beatty, I mean, we've talked about it every episode. He's been absolutely horrible. So you have just so many of these guys who are just not all that great. And then the guy today that I think it's really standing out more so, not only offensively, but you look at the Savant numbers so far, defensively, Tyrone Taylor is not all that, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, he has been not good at anything. He really has not. I mean, offensively, we know that he's not supposed to be a great hitter, but this year in particular, I mean, he's worse than he was last year. So that definitely is not good. He's hitting 163 at this current point. But Taylor, really at his range right now, he's like almost negative in OAA. I mean, his percentile is 39, which is a guy who's defensive first. He should not be there. Does he ever throw anybody out? I mean, does anyone in this outfield, this outfield have an assist? I would have to really look into it because it's not often if they do. Because I saw Harrison Bader gun Jesse Winker at the plate. I see Mets get thrown out on the bases all the time, but the Mets outfielders can't throw out anybody. And we knew that because we knew Nimmo didn't have an arm. Juan Soto, when he wants to try, he's very inaccurate. He misses the cutoff man. He's cutting off Taylor in center field, so those fundamentals. But then the thing that really one of the things that really drove me nuts today was Hayden Senger. And here's a guy who we talked about, a great story, working at Whole Foods. Now he's a member of the New York Mets, getting some catching reps. And we know that nowadays players can't bunt anymore. That's an old school thing. Back in my day, that's what we did. We did sacrifice bunts. It was a big thing that happened a lot. Now, since these guys don't practice it as much, when there's a time to do it, they can't do it. And you know what? If it's a star player and you want them to focus on hitting home runs, fine. But when it's a guy that you got from Whole Foods that is not supposed to be a great hitter, at least practice that he knows how to bunt when the situation comes up. And he can't even get it down. If there was one guy on the whole roster that should be able to get a bunt down, it should be the guy who was stocking shelves last year. That would be the guy that you would practice bunts with. So that's also just crazy to me that the one guy that should be able to do it couldn't do it. So you have those opportunities that are also squandered. And then you have your pitchers. And it's like everybody said this. Keith said it. Blevin said it. If Ron Darling was there, he would have said it. If there is a runner at second base and you're a pitcher and you have a play at first base, you have to check on the back runner, the guy that's behind you. And for Budo to be too busy complaining with the umpire, you let another run score. It's just like these are things that are taught to you as you're moving up in development, in the process, like as you're going through the system in Little League. This is what I'm saying. Like in Little League, this is stuff that you would go over. And they're talking about like, well, why is Lindor not covering second? Why is Acuna going to first? Like nobody knows what to do when a baseball is hit into the outfield. Like no one knows where to go. And
John Madden's having a field day right now.
he would. I mean, you need the telestrator.
He's having a field day up there, yeah.
Yeah, circle
Looking
everyone who's in the wrong spot. And that's what it comes down to, like, well, what's the coaching? I mean, because if these guys were not taught it on the way up, which I find almost impossible to believe, I don't know what it is that they're going over because, they, like you said, it's not just sloppy, but they just don't know how to do a lot of fundamental stuff. And that's just extremely frustrating and unacceptable. It's the thing that drives me the nuts the most is when you can't do the fundamentals and you can't do the basics, because anyone who's ever played baseball at any level, like I said, whether it's little league, middle school, high school, like these are some things that you should be able to do, you should know. So when you get to the professional leagues and you still can't do it, there's a massive problem. So stuff like that just, it just sets me over the edge. It really, really does. And you know what? These little things here or there, you're like, oh, it's just one play. Oh, like when you lose 4-3 in extra innings, these little things really add up. And again, you're facing the Minnesota Twins, who also left a ton of guys on base, who also stink with runners in scoring position. But they're able to overcome it because they were still hustling. I mean, they were very aggressive on the bases all game long because the Mets can't throw anybody out. So the stuff like that, it, like you said, it just really adds up. And what are they going to do? Because they went into, and we talked about this, but the way they're constructed, there's a lot of redundancy. I mean, Siri goes down and he wasn't hitting to begin with, but Tyrone Taylor can't hit either. Like those guys are very similar. And we talked about like with Winker and Marte, it's like neither one of them are prolific power hitters. Like, so you knew no matter what, like you're kind of stuck there. And then for Beatty and Acuna, like we were right that 14 games in the regular season in a playoff race means so much more than a good spring training, because going into today, Acuna had gotten above league average because he had such a great game in the second game. So, and Beatty was still nowhere near it. So it's like these kind of things that we knew. We knew that Acuna was a better option, but they kept going with Beatty. And Acuna, he has talent. He can make plays, but man, does he make some dumb plays too. Because the other thing that Acuna does as well is he gets some great jumps when he's stealing bases. He stole so many bases in the minor leagues. But him, and this is another thing that's new school, always with the head first slide. There are times with Acuna where the ball gets past the shortstop or the second baseman. It's in center field, and Acuna has no idea where the ball is. Acuna will turn around when the baseball is facing the other way. If you do a pop-up slide, if you slide feet first, you could be on third base. Yeah. But he always goes with the head first slide, and Acuna never knows where the ball is. His awareness, whether he's in the field or on the bases, is not great. He's got talent, but he is just not aware of the game, and stuff like that is frustrating, because like I said, these are some basic things that an old school fan, it really drives me nuts, because these are things that way back when we're taught, and these things didn't happen, but now it's like it's all over the place. I mean, you can't bunt, can't slide. Like, it's just so many little things that don't even have to do with talent, don't even have to do with athleticism, that these players are not able to do at this point.
Yeah, I mean, it's really just, I mean, I could give you as many numbers as I can all day long, to be honest. Any of the numbers I give you about this Mets team are just garbage. But I mean, here's the thing, is that when it comes to them just fundamentally sound, I don't know if there's going to be a way that can help this out, because there was a point last year where it was just like this, along with the catchers allowing a lot of stolen bases too. So it was getting even worse than there. So again, it's better than it was this time of the year last year, but but when it comes to just them overall, it's just like, I feel like the thinking is, it's most of this is so mental. I feel like most of it is so mental, and it's with some of these guys, it's just, when I always talk about the offense, or I talk about all these things of 0 or 100, it always just seems like they're not willing to complete something. They're not willing to do something consistently. It's all really just of what I see and how I'm not paying attention or something. That whole thing with Jose Budo, and I'm sure that there's going to be Mets Homer fans that tell me, oh, well, he was right. He had every right to argue. That's not the point right now. That's not the point. The play is still going on. That was one of the main things that I couldn't stand. I hate going to other sports, about a guy like Julius Randle. He complains about a foul while the play is still going on.
So the other thing, there's a couple things also with the Buto play. So number one, he's arguing with the umpire. Listen, and like you said, basketball is a perfect example. if official makes a wrong call, whether it's football, they're trying to change it because they have their replay systems a little more advanced.
Yeah,
but whether
obviously.
it's baseball, basketball, those kind of sports, if an umpire makes the right call and you go to argue, you know what's never happened in the history of sports? They change it. They say, oh, yeah, you know what? You're right.
Yeah.
Let me change it after your argument. I'm going to change the call. It doesn't work. So why waste your breath? Why waste your time? And Budo, immediately, his reaction, because I was right. I mean, other guys was out. Look, challenge it. And they're so reliant on the challenge. Guess what? You don't have a challenge. If you were paying attention to your
they're not
team
aware
and watching
they're
the
not paying
game,
attention.
you already used it. And then later on in the game, Lindor, the play that they actually were lucky to get the crew chief review on the play at second base that they actually got the guy out. He was like, oh, challenge. Like, are you guys, like, do you know the situation? Do you know what's happened previously in the game that you already used it? Like, everyone's just, like, so wired, like, oh, challenge everything.
It's waiting for something to be handed to you. Like,
exactly. It's like you're so reliant on it. Your first instinct is always challenge. Like, why was that a crew chief review? And because the Mets wanted to challenge? Like, it was just...
Well, I guess it was a close enough play, but it's like...
And the play at first base wasn't? You couldn't crew chief that?
I don't know.
You know, like, there's just something... Like, there's some flaws. There's a lot of flaws in this game that was very prevalent. I mean, the crew chief system, awful. And then for the umpires themselves... Why are these guys not wearing helmets? Like, why is a guy getting hit in the head and now has to be taken off the field when the base coaches wear it? I mean, like, there was just a lot of things that were pointed out in today's game in particular that are just wrong with the sport right now.
Yeah.
I mean, the system is flawed. So there was just a lot of things here that, I mean, listen, if I was a Mets fan, or if, let's say, the roles were reversed and the Twins were out of challenges, and then all of a sudden they get a random crew chief thing, I'd be flipping out. I'd be like, well, why don't you, like, you don't see stuff like that. Like, if you're, a lot of times it's like, if you're out of challenges, you're out of challenges. Like, they, to me, they got very lucky.
Yeah,
that they
it may
got
have
that
been
review
this,
in.
actually. It may have been this.
Oh,
It may have been
the
this, that
eighth
it's
inning, ninth
allowed.
inning? Which, again, to me, that's dumb. Because why? Because these things
I think
all
it's
add
always
up.
been 7 inning on.
But
to
the
have,
thing
like,
is,
those
if
certain
there's a
challenges.
close play in the fifth inning, why is that not reviewed? But the close play in the eighth inning, it's still the same. Like, if there's a play at second base,
I think
in
it all
fifth
has
or
to do with
eighth,
the
it can still
situation.
decide a game. So I just don't. That's
It's
a dumb
flawed.
rule.
It is flawed.
It's a very dumb rule.
It's very flawed, but again, it doesn't help the situation of, you know, arguing with the official, arguing with the umpire or whatever in the middle of this when the play is already gone. Like that's the thing. Like, have your head in the right place, please, for once, because we're seeing this constantly happen of just the constant unawareness, or not. It's not even just the unawareness, but just the common sense. We see it with the first pitch swinging when a guy is so wild and can't throw a strike, but they throw a first. They swing at the first pitch. We see them stare at strikes when the bases are empty. We see them just.
I'm sorry, Carson. That was no one that drove me nuts. So Winker today on a 2-strike count took one down the middle and argued with the umpire. It was down the middle. If you're like, if
Soto
that's
did
what
the
I'm saying,
same
that's
thing.
That's what we're talking about with the recognition. Do you know the strike zone? Because what are you looking for? If it's down the middle and you're complaining, like, this is what we're talking about. Like, the instincts to always complain and just, there's no accountability. And we'll get to later on with Soto. That was a perfect example. There is no accountability. It's never their fault. It's the umpire's fault. It's not me just staring at strike 3 down the middle. Like, the way they just blame everybody else but themselves is very crazy.
That's just how it is now. Like, that, for everybody in sports, it's like that's basically how it is now, especially basketball. But Andrew, I mean, we've unloaded plenty, of course. But it's just like these little mental mistakes. Like, this stuff cannot happen, whether you're winning baseball games or in first place or not. This stuff just cannot happen. Like, these fundamental plays of just having your head screwed on straight, that can't happen. And I know guys like Acuna, they're young and they will learn, but these are simple things. Like, come on. Like, what, like, I feel like it's just, where is their head at? Like, where is your head at? Is it still in spring training? Who knows? But it's like, we're in April now. The season started. It's just that type of stuff just cannot be happen, and it needs to be fixed immediately, or they're going to go to losing ways instead of winning ways.
Yeah, and again, and that's kind of, if you want to say the blessing, the fact that you can somewhat get away with this against the shit teams. Like Frank said, you've played nobody. And then you got Philly after the Cardinal series, which, you play like this, you get swept. And then you obviously the Nationals and the Cardinals, who cares? Again, they are what they are. But again, it's this, you can't keep this going, and the fact that you're supposed to be a team that's supposed to be competing for a World Series. And I get it's April. Oh, it's cold. It's affecting everybody. Like, this isn't like, oh, I've seen somebody be like, whoa, it's Minnesota and it's April. The schedule. It is what it is. You're playing the same team dealing with the same shit you got to do. And yes, there are things that need to, obviously this is just, oh, it's okay, they're winning. But again, like you guys said, you can't keep this going. Again, it's to the point of, if you can't do basic fundamentals, then we're even more screwed than we thought. Okay, because we thought going in, okay, there were a few holes that we thought, but we thought, hey, this team actually has a head on its goddamn shoulders. But at this point, it's so far up their own ass, who knows if they'll get it going. And it's like, oh, everyone's like, oh, let it get warm. Again, if you can't decide, throw to the right base, cover the right base, tag the right guy, like, slide properly, again, it doesn't matter. Oh, if it's 100 degrees, yeah, the ball's going to be flying. But guess what? We're running out of baseline. We're going to have, two guys are going to run into each other. We're going to throw the ball to freaking Jose Canseco. It doesn't matter if we can't get the simple things of baseball, right? Oh, it's okay. But again, we're going to just continue to say, well, they keep winning. When you're playing better competition, you're not going to be able to find ways to finagle. Like, oh, when you're playing a shit team, you could play like ass and still find a way to win. But if you're trying to go where you're supposed to go, you're just you're gonna fall flat, just like the hockey team. Well,
the pitching is not going to be there to bail you out every single time. It's not going to be there every single time, because pitchers have blow-ups as well, just like how offenses don't do well, and sometimes offenses do well. Like, again, a lot happens throughout a 162 game season, and I think from the looks of it, it's just the leniency on it just being April. I don't know. There doesn't seem to be any sense of urgency, or there doesn't seem to be any, like, it's just the constant mental mistakes that this team makes. And then all of a sudden, things just get broke. Like, again, we know that this pitching staff is not perfect. We know that it's not. And we know that there is some, concerns about them going deep into games. There's some control concerns and things like that. When you're extending the inning like that, you don't stand a chance. But again, I don't want to hear anything about the pitching. I don't want to hear anything about the overall of this pitching, and it's all a bunch of no names and they stink. And first of all, your offense has been garbage. Your offense stinks. It's been terrible. It's not even just the results, the overall process, the thought process. The defense, terrible outside of the catchers just gunning down guys from behind the plate, which was an issue last year, so that's the only thing that's improved. But, you're not making it any better. So again, guys like this on the mound. I mean, this happens all the time with Tyler McGill on the mound, and he's got his flaws, but you're not helping him here. You're not helping whatsoever. And we all know that if you can't rely on the defense, you're going to have to rely on strikeouts. Strikeouts are more recorded with velocity. What happens when you bring the velocity up? Guys get hurt. So if you want the pitching to kill themselves throughout 162 games because they have a good ERA in April, that's not going to help. It isn't. Playing baseball like this, it's losing baseball. You were just playing a team that was not good enough to realize it, and they still found a way to take 2 out of 3 from you. So, again, there's no excuses for plays like this. There's no excuses for games like this, and there never should be. And I'm hoping that someone's held accountable before we start this ridiculous spiral that we were starting to see last year, because I'm not trying to get back into that and having to climb our way back from it, because we know what this team is capable of, and they should be able to function from day one But since day one, it has looked like overall as a team, they have just had their heads up their asses. That's it.
There was another play this past week where Luis Angel Acuna laid down a bunt and Tyrone Taylor was on base and Taylor didn't slide into second and got thrown out. And if he slid, he was safe easily. So again, it's like these are just like basic things. Just slide. Like they can't even do that. And Lindor, he's had some careless errors at shortstop. I mean, he's got 4 errors already in only the first few weeks, and this is like a Gold Glove shortstop. And these are routine plays.
I'm not here to say like, oh, his defensive career is completely over. But
it's not. But because that's not talent. That's a focus. Those are mental mistakes because these are easy plays that he's messing up. So
yes, as
far as like leadership, it's hard for your leader to be like, hey, guys, we got to be more focused if you're out there dropping the ball constantly. And you know what? I've said this before, but you lost JD Martinez. You lost Jose Iglesias. Like, I don't see the veteran. I don't know. There's not as many veterans as there were here last year. So when stuff like this happens, there's not the leadership to really talk about these things and go over it because – listen, I don't know how Mendoza does it because he's got a lot to go over tomorrow because he doesn't do it during the game. You'll never see him rip anybody. He has a lot to go over. So I don't know how they're going to turn it overnight, but it's just like we're seeing these things constantly. Like we said, just basic things, routine plays that they botch all the time.
Yeah. And that's the thing. I'm not trying to hide it behind, the win-loss record and say that everything is okay because eventually – if you're going to play losing baseball, you're going to lose games. It's going to happen because they have been playing overall as a team, not in the pitching sense, but if you play this type of losing baseball, it is going to, it's going to fire back at you. I mean, that's pretty much how it really just, it goes. And listen, is Hunter Wendelstedt a bad umpire? Yes, he's been a bad umpire for a long time. And yes, he's not good at his job. But again, there's only so many things that you can blame when you're just not playing good baseball. And I understand the frustration. I get it because obviously there's expectation here. And they have been underperforming as a team. They have been. Whether there is a department that's been good, such as the bullpen or the rotation or some of the guys in this lineup. But, this is just not something that you can just brush off and go on to the next day. I mean, again, it's just at some point you can't use everything else as a crutch and just realize you got to lay in your own shit some way. Like you gotta realize that this cannot happen. That's the thing that I can't stand with guys like Jose Budo when he's arguing with the umpire while the play is still going on. We know that simply that you always check the back runner when you have a play like that. That's one of the main things of the PFP drill. You check the back runner. He didn't. The umpire didn't make you not check the back runner. He didn't. Whether it was his call or not. And yes, it was a bad call. I get it. It's the human element. But also, the human element also includes, the mental game, which this team has not had a concept of since the start of the season. So you can't have it both ways. I mean, it's just, again, I don't know. Truro saying these guys might not be holding each other accountable like they did last year. Who knows?
They waited until they were dead to have their meeting.
Yeah.
I mean, because they had nothing else left. But, I mean, and you know what? And like you said, we're 11-7. Like, I just don't want them to use that as an excuse to not hold each other accountable. Like, we're in first place. What's there to worry about? Like,
we'll be fine. The Braves aren't doing that well.
Yeah, I mean, that's not the way to go about it. You should always have a standard of excellency that you should always be striving for. And no matter win, loss, or draw, there's no draws in baseball, but you got to always have that kind of standard. Like, you always got to make sure you're doing everything correctly because, again, it's like talent. you're fortunate that you have the money invested that you do, because if you didn't, it'd be even tougher when you're playing like this, because that's what I'm saying. A lot of the times it's also players who are not that great. So it's like, if you're not good, at least be smart. You know what I mean? Like, if you're not the fastest guy in the world, not the strongest guy in the world, at least do the basic things correctly. So, I mean, that's the other thing that, like I said, frustrates me too, is that, like I said, Taylor, we'll maybe get to it later, but the fact that Jeff McNeil, and we could joke about it as much as we want, he's legitimately getting reps in center field in the minor leagues. That's an indictment. Like, that is an absolute indictment that
he can play anywhere.
If Jeff McNeil is out in center field, because even young Jeff McNeil wasn't playing center field, and the Mets have had a lot of center fielder struggles, a lot. So, I mean, that just says a lot. And if he's not going to be sliding, and again, so if you're not going to hustling, and we talked about it with Soto, we talked about Vientos earlier in the year, like, a lot of these guys, like, just the not hustling too, it's crazy. Like, they don't really care. Yeah. And that's where I feel like
it should be habitual. It really should be. It should be standard. It really should be. I just don't, I really just don't understand how, like, there's things that we're just not seeing on display. Maybe it does improve, and we saw it improve a little bit throughout the season, but it's like, come on. Like, there's things that they are doing on the field. It's not even just visually it's just like, I'm really just seeing them, just the dumb decision making at the plate, in the field, just on the base pass too. I mean, it's just very, very, like, use your head, please. That's all I ask. Just use your head. Common sense. I'm not saying do this, do that, whatever. What I'm saying is, like, at some point, you're going to have to, I mean, see if this doesn't happen again, but we are continuing to see these types of things happen multiple times. It's happened to Clay Holmes. It's screwed him out of going deeper into the game. We always talk about it happening to Tyler McGill. That always does happen, even though he has his own faults as well. We've seen Kodai Senga get knocked out even on a pitch count, which is supposed to be your frontline piece to be an automatic win. That hasn't happened. There's things that fill in the margins that David Stearns has talked about profusely, constantly. And everybody goes after it. He says, oh, no. He just wants all of these guys. Well, what are you seeing right now? There's a reason why he brings these guys in, because he needs to fill these things in the margins. And yes, Tyrone Taylor is somebody he brought in. Not he's made those types of mistakes, but these things are important. It's not just who has the good batting average and who has the good ERA. There's things that are in the margins as well that you need to for a actual fluent way to play baseball. And being 11-7 doesn't excuse that. I don't know how many times we can say this of, it's all looks mental to me, because I know what this team is capable of. And all of it just seems like they're just either they have no sense of urgency or they're just rushing things. And it's just there's just no, somebody said in the chat, like, no killer instinct. There's no killer instinct whatsoever. It's just a display of guys going through the motions, which I don't want to see, because if it continues to happen, then it's going to continue to tumble, because it may be just April, but that at some point it's going to be May, and then it's going to be June, then it's going to be July. And we are saying this after the first time that they lost back-to-back games. Look at the win-loss record. It's great. We're at the top of the division right now. You don't win pennants, you don't win divisions, you don't win wild cards, you don't win playoff games in April. So, again, there's things out here that they are playing that are going to catch up with them if they don't get fixed immediately. And that's the thing. The NLCS made some of them complacent, it seems like. Maybe it has. It's possible. And maybe there is a team identity that they need to figure out. There's an identity part of the team that I'd like them to get rid of. But it's never going to happen, because the one thing that the Mets like to do besides winning is torture me. So anyways, I do want to talk about some of the bright spots as well throughout this series. And one of the bright spots was actually today, which was basically a put me in coach moment for Justin Hagenman, who made his major league debut in a bulk relief appearance after Griffin Canning was had an illness and he was moved up a day and had an extra day of rest. I want to talk about Hagenman's MLB debut, which was pretty impressive for the role that he was put in. But before we get into that, because obviously we need to talk about what happened to Canning and everybody else going on, because it's been crazy and moving parts. Frank, I'm going to move over to you for the injury report of what has been going on. But again, lots of craziness. Let's just say that. Plenty to talk about and plenty more coming up. But Frank, it is all yours.
All right, so first up, Jose Siri. After further imaging, Mets outfielder Jose Siri has a fractured tibia bone in his left leg and has been placed on the 10-day injured list. The 28-year-old left Saturday's game in Sacramento after fouling a ball off his shin and has struggled to put any weight on his left leg since then. Griffin Canning, Mets starting pitcher, was scratched from his start today versus the Twins due to an illness. Mets manager Carlos Mendoza reported that Canning has been feeling under the weather this week and they opted to give him an extra day of rest. The 28-year-old right-hander is now scheduled to start the first of a 4-game set with the St. Louis Cardinals tomorrow night at Citi Field. Sean Manaea, on Monday afternoon, Mets starting pitcher underwent an MRI on his right oblique and it revealed improvement. Mets manager Carlos Mendoza stated that Manaea has resumed light throwing from 60 feet, but they will keep him at that distance and intensity over the next 10 days to play things safe, which is in caution to the setback he experienced multiple weeks ago. The 33-year-old southpaw has been sidelined since the beginning of spring training due to a right oblique strain. Francisco Alvarez, Mets starting catcher, continued his rehab assignment for AA Binghamton on Tuesday night. After homering earlier in the game, Alvarez was hit by a pitch in the 6th inning on the same hand he had surgery on in mid-March. The 23-year-old went on to stay in the game and catch the bottom of the inning before being removed in the 7th inning for a defensive replacement. This is currently no further concern as Alvarez continues to recover from the initial surgery he underwent to repair a fractured hamate bone in his catching hand. Ronnie Mauricio, Mets infield prospect, is scheduled to start at DH in the Florida Complex League for extended spring training tomorrow. Mets manager views this as a good sign for Mauricio to be in live game action in mid-April. There is no timetable for him to play the field, but the goal is for him to eventually play a full 9 innings in the Florida Complex League before the next step. The 23-year-old Mauricio will continue to ramp up at a slow pace as he recovers from torn ACL surgery that he underwent in December of 2023. The Alvarez thing really almost drove me nuts. I mean, I really was about to go berserk when this guy got hit in the hand and it's the minor leagues and you're leaving him in to catch. Are you crazy? Like, why? If you're going to take him out an inning later anyway, why would you not just take him out immediately? Even though, again, this is what kind of we talk about. I'm sure Alvarez, he's tough, and he said, no, I'm good, I'll stay in. And they just listen to the players all the time. Like, again, be the boss. Take him out. This is the minor leagues. Do not risk it. I really almost really lost it when this guy, they left him in. That was crazy to me.
No, I don't know. Maybe he shook it off or something. I don't know. But again, no further concern. It seems like they said he's fine. If there was any concern, they probably would have taken him out. But it's whatever. But as for Griffin Canning, like we said, was scratched from this start, and Justin Hagenman was called up as a corresponding move. Max Kranick was sent down, and for those of you who are ready to slice David Stern's head off for this one, yes, Kranick was optioned down to AAA Syracuse on paper, but when you are optioned, you are obligated to play in AAA or be in AAA for 15 days, unless you're replacing an injured player. And that injured player that he will be replacing will be Jose Siri. Now, obviously, you can't have a certain amount of pitchers on the roster, So Hagenman will be the one who is sent down to AAA in those corresponding moves. So either way, Max Krenick will be back here. Don't worry. His dazzling, beautiful ERA for the traditional fans will be back in front of you this week. It's going to be fine. Now, as for Griffin Canning, scratch from today's start, we'll start game 1 of the Cardinals series. And we want to talk about who did pitch today instead, and that being Justin Hagenman, like I said, making his MLB debut. And even though he is not a world beater by any means, he is not a dominant pitcher, he was able to give us a quality outing and keep us in the game. And there is a few things that we can really tell that David Stearns likes about this guy, especially with it being on display. Now, obviously, his overall numbers from today, he faced 13 batters, 3 innings and a third, 3 hits, 1 earned run. That went in, that ended up coming in after he was removed from the game. 4 strikeouts, 5 swings and misses on 50 pitches. Now, there is one thing that is definitely jumping off of the page here that I would say, especially from a lot of the guys that come up from the minor leagues and maybe have some nerves or whatever, obviously this being his major league debut, against 9 of the 13 batters he faced, a first pitch strike, and he threw 32 strikes in total and 18 out of the zone. He is expected to be optioned down to AAA tomorrow, but it was definitely encouraged to see this from Justin Hagenman, who we did not see really on the radar after signing a 1-year split contract with the Mets over the offseason. Now, you can obviously see he's a sinker baller. He's here to manage contact. He also has a plus changeup, which he did not really have fully on display here. You're not really seeing much, but either way, it's just overall pitch shape and the combinations of elements that he has. The sinker doesn't have as much run or movement, but it also comes in at a vertical approach angle hovering around 4, which he's able to go high and tight to with both right-handers and left-handed hitters. The one main thing that is really intriguing about him is the low arm angle and the type of deception that he's able to bring, which makes him so effective against both platoons as to where he can go multiple innings and go through every single part of the lineup. Now, he was not allowing that much hard contact. There were a few balls put in play there, but he was able to put away batters. He was attacking the zone, and it seemed like that type of deception was really throwing off the Twins hitters. Who knows if he is going to be a big piece down the line, but you're also really starting to see some pieces that come in. They're signed by David Stearns out of nowhere, guys that we don't even know. Like you can see here, a 23rd round pick by the Dodgers in 2018. He is 20, I think he's 23. No, he's not 23. That's a typo. But either way, you are seeing some pieces come up in emergencies, in these types of situations where a pitcher can't make a start. And it seems like he passed the first test with flying colors here. 4-pitch righty, like I said, sinker baller, changeup, cutter, slider. It seems like he had a really good command of the zone. He was able to expand the zone pretty well as well on 2 strikes. This was a really good outing. I think that he did a really good job keeping us in this game. Unfortunately, the offense doesn't exist right now and is in complete hibernation, unless your name is Pete Alonso. Hibernation in the polar... It's funny. Okay, anyways. Andrew, I'll go to you here on this one. Obviously, you're starting to see a lot of these different pieces, and I'm sure we'll see different pitchers. This was the first roster move that they made throughout the entirety of the season so far. It took them, 18 games in. And at the rate that we were going in spring training with a bunch of pitchers going down, it was pretty impressive to see that. And the first impression of it, Justin Hagenman, pretty good MLB debut. I think that he did quite a good job keeping us in this game, even though we ended up losing. But either way, promising debut, as opposed to a Thomas Sapucki of the world, right?
Oh, God. Jesus, we're hitting that name in 2025. You gotta love that. Yeah, I mean, they're definitely very impressive, and especially where we've seen the Mets do the multiple inning relievers. Maybe there is a chance that, obviously, Brazaban still is an option, right? Pretty sure,
I believe
Brazaban
he
has an option.
does. That sounds
So
right.
Yes.
maybe this could be a situation, maybe down the road, maybe because you've seen the Mets do the multi inning with Garrett and Brazaban and having multi inning guys. Maybe he's another option that could potentially fill that multi inning reliever. Let's say you
Yeah.
burn a Brazaban for multiple innings, you can call him up, and that could be an option. Again, it's always good to have options, and again, it's the David Stearns model of a guy that he signed in like December. We're like, oh, and then he comes in and is a proven big league arm and gets you a couple innings, and that's kind of what he's done. And again, you can never have as many as possible. And I got a lot of people who were like, "Oh, why couldn't it be one of the procspects we needed?" I'm happy, and he was better than Jose Urena. I don't want to see Jose Urena start for the New York Mets. And we've seen that. We've seen that in the big leagues. I appreciate that they go with the younger guy and give him an option, and he impressed. But again, to the fact that you need as much, like we say it all the time, and especially the way that Mendoza wants to use his bullpen. Definitely an outing like this can keep you maybe in that track. Okay, Krannick's got to go back down. We used him for 2 innings. Call up Hagenman, and there you have that. Especially when Tyler McGill and even Clay Holmes, it seems like once that 5th inning hits, they seem to know their stuff, and it seems to always be 2 walks, a hit by pitch, a couple hits. You at least now can maybe mix and match, having like we've said, it seemed like in the off we see all the time. Maybe a mismatch. Krannick goes with McGill, then you can maybe put Hagenman with Clay Holmes and do that double up to help your bullpen out. But again, it's impressive again for a guy that we were like, who the hell is this guy? He keeps you in the ball game. Again, if he had a lick of offense, he would probably getting a lot more praise. But of course, when the offense throws up goose eggs for 3/4 of the game, the pitching phenomenon, it continues to be with this bullpen. It continues to be overshadowed just because of the offense.
Okay. Frank, I'll go to you on this one. I mean, listen, we've talked about the walks with a lot of these guys. Obviously, it hasn't been as big of a problem as it was last year, so there's some improvement there. But this guy was stuffing the strike zone. He was tunneling some pitches, getting some chases. I mean, this was a guy who looked like he knew how to pitch. He just knew how to expand the zone. He knew how to locate. And even though it is against a Twins team that is struggling offensively, a very impressive debut to just come into the bulk of things, especially, to be honest. I mean, his debut, he had a runner on base, right? He had a pitch from the stretch in that 1st inning. So again, this is another piece that maybe going forward, if he continues to grab his footing in the majors, is someone that you also can rely on. Again, it doesn't mean that you just need 13 pitchers, because you're going to need a lot more than that, of course. So, I mean, what did you see from Hagenman? I think, either way, I think he was definitely one of the highlights of today, which was a game that was not great to watch.
No, definitely not. And I mean, like you said, to not walk anybody, that's a lot when in your first major league outing, because there is like a lot of times like those nerves, like when you're first like settling in and just getting accustomed to pitching in the major leagues. Like there is that first time pressure. You see a lot of guys like they may like walk a batter early and then get into the rhythm. But like you mentioned, I mean, he comes in already with the runner on base, able to strand him, and just with all the craziness that was going on today with challenges and guys being safe and out, and just a really crazy game. And he was able to make the most of it on the road, and he really did what needed to be done. And like Andrew said, if he's an option maybe for the bullpen at some point, because like you said, Carson, there's going to be injuries. Like it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Like, there's going to be other stuff that happens. Guys get sick. In this case, Griffin Canning. You're going to have double headers. Like a lot of stuff is going to happen throughout the course of the baseball season. 162 games, and we're only in April, as we said. So there's still a lot of baseball to be played. So we will see him back at some point, and we'll see how it looks. Again, like it was a good first outing, but how are you able to build off of it? You don't want to be a one-hit wonder, so to speak. So it's good that this is, again, what we wanted when David Stearns took over. Get me guys who were in the Dodgers organization who didn't get a chance. Get me guys in other organizations like Max Krannick, who maybe not a lot of people knew who he was. and they turn out to be a really good piece for you. And maybe Hagenman's another one of those guys. So that's just very exciting that it is, and like Andrew said, a big difference than the Uranus we've seen, the Julio Teherans that we've seen, and just you can go on and on and on about how many random spot starts the Mets have made of veteran players who we do know and were not good. But here you have a young player who maybe hasn't gotten that full opportunity yet, and they're really able to come through. So I think it's just a very exciting, and it's just a relief that, like, if something were to happen to a bullpen guy, like, you know, like we mentioned, at least you have another guy you maybe could trust later on. So it's always good to have, like we say, you can never have enough pitching. So I just think the fact that you saw another arm who was solid, could give you multiple innings, didn't walk the ballpark, that's a lot. I mean, and at that salary, like you showed, the split contract, you can't beat it. So, I mean, that really is maybe just another awesome job by Stearns when it comes to pitching.
Yeah, I mean, there's been plenty of guys that he has brought in his Milwaukee days who maybe don't have that much flash, but they have elements to their game. They have a certain arm angle. They have a certain pitch that maybe they can utilize and maximize in that way. And that is basically what you're seeing from a guy from like this low arm angle, this nice deception. He's not a world beater by any means, and they're not going to use him as one. Like, I don't think you're going to see Justin Hagenman going into the ninth facing Bryce Harper, Schwarber, and Castellanos. I don't think that's going to be happening. But again, these are the types of guys that you can piece things together. And that's the main reason as to why I didn't really have much panic about this pitching staff that much going into it. It all really just had to do with health, of course. But, you know, getting guys going deep into games. But if you have like these long relief guys, these bulk pieces, you know, that can eat a lot of innings and their arms that are conditioned that way to do so, you know, it can go a long way. And that's the main reason as to why I don't need these pitchers to be complete, utter world beaters on the mound. I literally just need to see 5 or maybe get past the 5th inning. Like, that's it. That's all I need, especially with this bullpen right now. You have 3 guys who can give you multiple innings, and all of them don't have to pitch on the same day. Then you can have your 4 outs guys, your 3 outs guys. I know that AJ Minter's gone 2 innings before. I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon, but it probably will eventually in stretch time. But I think that at some point, you're going to really start to see things trickle in where, you know, they're bringing in some of these pieces. They also are developing some of these young pieces, and it's all starting to get a little bit better. And it's not just going to happen overnight, but it's going to have to get a little bit better and a little bit better. And it keeps getting better. I mean, we've talked about Jeremy Hefner before and our, you know, thoughts about him and what's been going on with him. But again, as the years have gone on, things have gotten better. Things have improved a little bit. And that's what they're trying to build here. They're not there yet. They're not, you know, they're not completely a full circle cycle yet. But this is how they're going to have to piece things together, especially with the Mets rotation already down 2 arms right now. You can never have enough pitching. There's a reason as to why. I say this all the time with pitching and arms. Their job at this point is just to get injured, just to exist at this point, because you can't stop it. Pitching is not a regular motion. It is not like the 1960s anymore. This is a different game. Guys don't throw their arm out. And even though, you know, science is advancing and we're allowed to have, like, you know, we have surgeries that are helping guys out, these injuries are still going to happen. It's just natural. No matter what, nobody is perfect. Nobody can just completely have 100% health. And guys like Justin Hagenman help that dilemma. It's about quantity at the end of the day, because you can't just win being 11-7. You got to play 162 games, and injuries are going to happen. And guys like that who are more reliable, have upside, that is a type of piece that you add in there to fill things in, to piece things together. It's all about piecing it together. It's not just about give me the shiny ERAs and that's it, because that's not going to get you so far, because it's not something that is the shiniest sometimes in some situations, and sometimes it's not. So again, there's a reason as to why You need pitching like this. And when you have somebody like David Stearns, who has had a known success of doing it, these are the types of guys that you get. And maybe you don't see it eventually, but it's all really about the long game. As Carlos Mendoza said about Vientos earlier today, it's about playing the long game. Did he play in this third game? I don't even know.
No, he didn't. And they had an opportunity to pinch hit with him, but they pinch hit with Torrens because they're already playing shorthanded, that they knew because they pinch hit for Senja. So they said, if we pinch hit Vientos and then do a defense play to Torrens, then our bench is really, really short. So he did not appear at all today.
No, he didn't. Okay.
No.
Interesting. All right. Well, either way.
Playing the long game.
They are playing the long game. Now, speaking of the long game and, long contracts, Juan Soto had some comments about some stuff that has been going on before this series even started. And there's a lot of different angles you can go at this of what he said. It was basically about pitcher strategy against him now that he's on the Mets as compared to what he was with the Yankees. Now, listen, I think in general, before I even get into it, this has been completely blown out of proportion. After what we're seeing on display right now, it's a little annoying to hear this right now. I'm trying not to overreact to it, because most of it just sounds like a bunch of clickbait. But again, Juan Soto has not been someone who has been producing at the Juan Soto-like. So I do want to go into what he did say, and we can give our takeaways of what we think about it. But as for what he said, via Mike Puma on the New York Post, talking about his experience with the Mets so far, saying it's definitely different. I had the best hitter in baseball hitting behind me. I was getting more attacked and more pitches in the strike zone, less intentional walks and things like that. I was pitched to differently last year. I feel like I am trying to be the same, do damage when I can, and whenever they want to attack me, I take my chances, and when they don't, I'll just take my walk, and I'm not trying to be selfish or anything and try to hit homers every time. We don't have to attack the pitchers as individuals. If they don't pitch to me, I just pass the baton and let Alonso do his thing. And if they don't want to pitch to him, he should do the same thing. Now, Judge was asked about this whole situation because obviously he played for the Yankees last year. And if you didn't know, you're living under a rock. Judge said on Juan Soto's comments saying, I'm not really going back and forth with this. He's probably got one of the best hitters in the game behind him right now in what Pete Alonso is doing. It's been fun to watch. He's hitting close to 400. He's driving the ball around the field, driving guys in. So they are going to be good. Now, listen, there has been quotes taken out of context by the New York Post constantly. And I feel like the rest of this sentence that he did make, or the rest of that quote that he made, it doesn't sound like he's calling out the Mets and he made a mistake and he doesn't want to be here and he misses Aaron Judge. I feel like that's what the media is trying to make it look like. I feel like a lot of this, first of all, a lot of this could be solved if it wasn't said at all. I think, listen, at some point, we know that these guys say something that sometimes we don't agree with. They're not here for their voice. They're not here for their thoughts. They're here to play baseball. Andrew, I'll go to you on from what you saw from this. I'm trying not to overreact, but after seeing a game where he went 0 for 5, grounded into a crucial double play, I'm like, okay, well, there's that. That's not good. You're committed to this guy for 15 years, whether you like it or not. So right now, it's not a great position to be in. Doesn't look like he's fully confident or fully dialed in here, but why do we do this all the time? Like, Why do we give in to these types of clicks, whether they're real or not? I'm not asking you, I'm asking the heavens. But Andrew, what are your thoughts on this? Are you overreacting? Are you reacting fine? Is this troubling or not? Do you want to call out Pete Alonso for not protecting him well? Whatever you want to do, let me know.
I am so thankful that I have a life that I'm not on Twitter as much as I used to be, because this shit was going on. I had no idea what was going on. So everyone on fire, and I'm thinking, oh, the way everyone reacted, like I'm expecting him to say, oh yeah, Pete Alonso sucked, and I miss Josh. He's not as good as Josh Bell when I was in Washington. I'm thinking he stated facts. He's going from the best hitter or the second best hitter, however you want to put it, to statistically the second best. If you want to get, I'll give Pete his flowers. Statistically, the second best hitter in baseball right now. I understand everyone wants to get pissed off because he's not hitting. The offense isn't hitting. Pete is. So the fact that this comes out now, again, would it be nice to just everyone shut up? But again, it's New York. Every day, every athlete has either a reporter in their face, a microphone in their face. It's amplified tenfold. He plays for Cleveland, and in this scenario, this isn't that big a deal. You play from New York, guess what? Every little thing is going to be blown tenfold. I didn't have a problem with it, but again, I'm also the common, cold, calm fan. I don't give a shit what these guys say on podcasts. All I care about is what happens between those lines. But again, I'm not the most calm. I'm not every fan. Everyone wants to find a way to bitch and moan about something because everyone likes to do that in 2025. Again, I found no problem with it. Again, it's something you probably shouldn't have said. Again, could you PR'd it? Gone through PR and put out a PR type answer? Yeah, but I respect the fact that he was honest, because again, it's really hard to find athletes being honest in today's game. He sat down and he answered the question honestly, which I appreciate. But again, probably not the time to be talking about it. Again, I wouldn't be talking into a mic until you get fully going. But again, when you're the biggest contract in sports history, you don't have those rights of, oh, I'm not, because guess what? He doesn't talk to the media. That becomes a big deal. Again, we saw that with a also Hispanic outfielder that maybe ran away from the media, and that became a bigger deal. So he doesn't want to be that guy. So to the point of, he's damned if he is, he's damned if he's not. But again, for me, all I care about is the production on the field. He's not gotten going. He's still drawing his walks. So again, what he's saying is still true. But then you look at a game today, and again, I can understand everyone, pitchforks out. But again, what he said for most part of the season, he has done, and Pete has produced. And the fact that I think this would be a bigger deal if Pete Alonso wasn't statistically the second best offensive player in baseball. I think that's a bigger deal if Alonso wasn't producing. But the fact that Alonso is producing, I really don't get what I get. Is saying, well, again, you have the Yankee side, but like, Alonso's hitting and producing. This is a non-story. If Alonso was, Brandon Nimmo, Mark Vientos level of not producing, then I can understand this becoming a big thing. But Pete Alonso is comparable. Again, it's April, but comparable numbers to judge. So again, what? I don't get.
Yeah.
Maybe it's me. Maybe it's me finally being an adult and off Twitter and not giving a shit about dumb shit. But again, I live in a world and we cover dumb shit, so you got to get pulled back in. But I didn't see it that big of a deal. But again, I know how the world is, and I'm not shocked.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I think right now with how the offense has been going, and I'm not really just talking about it from, how he's explaining it or what he meant in context, because again, words on paper, they're said with a different tone. Who knows? But again, when it comes to Soto, right now the offense isn't doing well. The offense has not been producing. To be honest, I think that right now the outrage of it, along with a certain radio station that likes to put things on amplified level, I think when you look at this from here, it's basically just the overall knee-jerk reaction of, well, this team's not performing offensively, so anything that you say, Juan, shut up. We don't want to hear from you. That's basically it. Whether he is producing or not, whether he's not. Because again, this city, this media, this level of media, it can turn on you so quick in any other direction that let's say after all those comments that he just made, let's say tomorrow against St. Louis, he has a cycle by some miracle, hits 3 home runs in a game. It's all going to be forgotten about. That's the thing. It's just so quick to judge. It's always about judge. It's always I'm sorry, I got to stop doing that. It's always so quick to judge, and then they're going to move on to the next thing, obviously. But we all know that the words are going to be amplified from somebody that you just gave $765 million to. Frank, I know that overall production, of course, you know, the what have you done for me lately in New York, we talk about it all the time. I would say that, you know, in good PR, the best thing to say is next to nothing at all when things like this are happening. But for him to be vocal and be honest, I don't like to be lied to. I've said this all the time. It's all really about how you meet it in the middle. Right now, I think it's all just about the vocal point of the fact that the Mets are not producing. But overall right now, with Alonso producing behind him drawing walks like he said, to me, this just sounds like a massive nothing burger. That's what it sounds to me. It sounds like to me. Could there be a deeper meeting? Could we maybe hear a deeper meeting and maybe we have rioting in the streets to get rid of Juan Soto in a year? Who knows? But right now, like, I feel like they're going to be on to the next thing next week about something if somebody says, and that's going to be it. I don't know if that's the impression that you give. Everyone has every right to be upset that your $765 million guy is not producing at the level that we thought he would. But like we have said, for some that want to be negative, want to be positive, it's a long season. We know he's going to come around. But I'm not trying to overreact to something that gets amplified and taken out of context in the media, such as New York, that is just known for taking things out of context. But again, I understand the frustration too.
Okay, so let's get into the context. Why are the reporters asking Juan Soto these questions? It's because he's underperforming. He's not coming through in the big spots. He's not living up to what they paid for. Still early, but so far, hasn't gotten the job done the way they hoped for. That was why they asked him the question. If he was playing great, they wouldn't be asking about it. You know, why are you struggling? Why is all this happening? And, you know, this is kind of what we talked about in the beginning about accountability, about pointing the finger at others, about when you mess up, not saying it's not my fault. You know, it's somebody else. Oh, it's because I don't have Aaron Judge batting behind me. Here's the thing. The Mets did not give Juan Soto that huge amount of money because of what he did for the Yankees. The Mets gave Juan Soto that amount of money because of what he did throughout the entirety of his career. And most of his career was with the Washington Nationals, who played in National League East. And when the Washington Nationals won the World Series in 2019, who was batting behind Juan Soto? It wasn't Aaron Judge. It wasn't Pete Alonso. It was Howie Kendrick. Yet, somehow, Juan Soto was able to play amazing. So why is it now that throughout your career in the Nationals, where you did not have the talent that you did with the Yankees, did not have the talent that you did with the Mets, you were amazing. You were this generational player that the Nationals had offered a ton of money to before he turned it down and moved on to the Padres, and everything goes after that. So why now is it, oh, well, I'm not doing as good because I have Aaron Judge band behind me? Well, what about all the times you were carrying the Washington Nationals and you were being pitched differently? You were fine then, so I don't want to hear it now that, oh, it's because I have Aaron Judge band behind me. And if Pete Alonso was struggling like the way he was last year and he was in a slump, I'd be like, all right, that makes sense. You know, why pitch to Soto if you have an automatic out right behind him? If he's complaining about, not complaining, but if he's saying that one of the reasons not doing as good as he should because the way they're pitching him now, how do you think they're going to pitch him when Pete Alonso's OPS isn't over 1,000 and is not playing out of his mind? What happens when Alonso goes in a slump? they're really not going to throw you any strikes. So then what are you going to do? Are you going to, really not come through for us? And he's saying, oh, well, I'm not getting as many pitches in the zone. When Juan Soto hits that massive double play with the bases loaded to the unassisted to the first baseman, you know what the pitch was? It was right over the middle of the plate. Was that because you didn't have Aaron Judge? No, you didn't come through, but it's not your fault, right? You got the ball in the strike zone. You didn't get the big hit, but it's because you don't have Aaron Judge betting behind you. Kyle Tucker is having a phenomenal season with the Chicago Cubs. He doesn't have Aaron Judge behind him. He doesn't have Pete Alonso behind him, but no problem. So why now? Now that you're a New York Met, now it's because, I'm getting pitched differently. If you don't, that's the thing that is really driving me nuts, is that he doesn't need Aaron Judge to be an elite player because he was amazing before he went to the Yankees. If it was just he had this one amazing at the Yankees and then the Mets got him, I'd be more concerned and be like, okay, that kind of makes sense. But with where he's hitting, and again, with as good as Alonso has been, and I've been surprised at how much Soto's gotten intentionally walked, considering that Soto has been struggling and Alonso's been playing good, and some of the times Alonso's made them pay for it. So that's been fascinating to me as well. But I think overall that I just didn't like it. I just felt like, you know what, it could have been, I'm struggling, because when he does get pitches in the zone, we've talked about it, he's popping them up. He's hitting them on the ground. I mean, you look at more of his advanced numbers, but he's not finding the barrel. The launch angle is all over the place, not getting the sweet spot of the bat. So it's that has nothing to do with whether the pitches are in the zone or out of the zone. I mean, it's just a very frustrating when it's this is just not what I wanted to hear when you're struggling. I want to hear, I got to make some adjustments, my timing. He could have made up any arbitrary baseball thing that we always hear from hitters, my mechanics, whatever, that we're used to hearing. But, I don't have Aaron Judge behind me anymore, so I'm getting pitched a little differently. If you can't adjust to that, then you're not the star player that they paid for, because he did it before with the Nationals. He could do it again. So I just really, I didn't think it was the time for it. I really didn't want to hear it.
Yeah, well, I think, again, it's all really just the fact that the Mets are just not producing offensively. That's basically the main reason as to why. And that's the main reason as to why they asked him that question. And listen, I'm trying not to say that, this whole situation here is, because it has really nothing to do with the Yankees. It really just has more just to do with Juan Soto. And the biggest issue that I have with this is, same thing what Evan's saying here, is it just sounds like an excuse for the reason as to why you're not producing and putting these types of numbers up. Because again, we know that Lindor has always been somebody who is slowly starting. We hold him accountable as well when he does as well. But when you have Juan Soto come here on the richest contract in the history of sports, I really want to. It's just not. It really isn't what I want to hear. I'm not trying to make a big deal out of it, but I'm trying to just I want to see him just kind of meet it halfway of the reality of the situation. Because yes, there is a reality that he's pointing out here. Yes, he's not getting many pitches in the zone. Yes, he doesn't have Aaron Judge behind him. But also, with Alonso hitting the way that he has, kind of cancels it out at this current moment, because that's the only sample we have of him being with the New York Mets. So, again, it's so hard for me to jump on it. I feel like at some point, they're going to have to figure it out to balance this thing out, because he is getting a good amount of pitches. Like you said, popping them up. There's been ones that he's hitting on the ground. Obviously, I always say taking your opportunities when you get them, because a lot of pitchers throw out of the strike zone. They're looking for chases. I don't know if he's just pressing or if he's just not. I know that he's going to snap out of it, and we're not going to be talking about this, and he's going to be fine. And it almost felt like it was kind of washing away a little bit when he hit that home run in the first game of the series. Then he hits another one. You're like, okay, Here comes the groove. He's going to be fine. That's fine. I never really had much of the concern about what Juan Soto was doing, but again, it seemed like, okay, he was starting to be getting the rhythm because they were talking about it even on the broadcast. Oh, he's not doing the shuffle anymore. What's with the shuffle? There's no, it doesn't seem like he has that confidence or whatever. Then you get the third game here where he just wasn't good at all. He struck out 3 times. What was it? Grounded into a huge double play. I don't want this to become such a story. And I really, it's just what he's sandwiched in between. The point of view here that only bothers me is like I said, with it being an excuse. I don't want to say this in like a Stephen A type of way, but like the guys that you're batting in between, Francisco Lindor and Pete Alonso, they ain't no scrubs. They're good hitters. They're not bad. Francisco Lindor is one of the best shortstops in baseball. Pete Alonso so far has been the best first baseman right now, I guess, even though it's been 18 games and nobody open to that. But I mean, the problem that I have here with this is that I don't want this being displayed to the rest of this team, that you can just make these types of excuses and just give an analysis. I don't think that's what he meant to say. I'm hoping that's not what he meant to say, that I miss Aaron Judge. I feel like this whole thing is being blown completely out of proportion. But I feel like, once again, like I said, the best thing to say is nothing at all in this situation, or just keep it as simple as you can and don't be so public about it, because again, calling Aaron Judge the best hitter in baseball when you have somebody who has been red hot so far this year batting behind you, and also you don't play for that team anymore, it's going to rub some people off the wrong way, and it's going to be rage bait success. I'm trying to be reasonable this way, but it's, again, when you open your mouth like this, there's some things that I can't defend. We say this with Pete Alonso sometimes. When he says some shit and you're like, all right, Pete, shut up. Don't talk, please. And we know that he's not here for his brain. He's here for his bat. And even though he does stupid shit, we talk about this stupid shit all the time, as long as he's hitting, which he is doing, do whatever I want. Do whatever you want. Play in a 2-2 for all I care. I don't care. But again, when it's not going well and you're hearing things like this specifically, it's going to get this type of reaction. Whether it's my reaction or Andrew's reaction or what Frank thinks here, it's not just, I don't want to hear it. It's just, I don't really want to hear anything right now. I want to hear things as simple as I possibly can, because either way, it's going to be perceived as this guy being the asshole that stole all his money from the franchise because he's not playing well, until he actually does perform. And it gets even more amplified in the New York media to a different extent. So at some point, again, I'm not trying to blow this thing completely out of the water and say that Juan Soto is completely regretting his decision, because again, they put on a huge facade in the New York media to get whatever clicks that they want. Because I know what Juan Soto is capable of. I'm not worried about it going forward. But again, when I'm seeing him grounding into double plays, when I'm seeing him strike out like this, it's not fun. It isn't fun to watch. And I know that eventually he's going to get going. But to hear that much vocal stuff put into the New York media air, it's not a good recipe. Let's just say that. It just isn't. I'm not saying I'm mad about it. I'm just mad that it just exists, that quote was put out into the ether, to be honest, as we like to say. It's just, Andrew, if there's anything you want to add, or any of you guys want to add, Frank, if you want to add anything, I'm not trying to make this such a PR nightmare, but at some point, we're going to have to, at some point, there's going to have to be some accountability. And like we have said throughout this entire series, there's been a lack of that. And if this is going to continue to be a problem, and we're going to need another May 30th meeting until somebody realizes it, you know, there's things that went our way in 2024 that probably won't go your way again. So again, I'm just saying this is a slippery slope that you're dealing with right now. The chat version of Frank About Sports says that we have a 2 RBI hit from Francisco Alvarez in Double A Binghamton. So I think his finger's fine. I think he's okay. Unfortunately, there's someone in the that's not in the dugout with him to tell him everything he did wrong. So that doesn't mean anything.
No, he actually went opposite field. It was the way Eric Chavez would have wanted it.
You need to parachute it, and it needs to perfectly be placed at a 45-degree angle. But speaking of the other Francisco, he has been named captain of Team Puerto Rico for 2026 WBC. For those of you who don't know, just came out on Twitter. It was just announced. So, anyways, anything else you guys want to add to this? Because I'm not trying to make this a big thing, but it's also just coming from the fact that, you know, anything you're going to say, I don't want to hear it because the team isn't producing. Like that's pretty much it of how I want to, you know, I want to hear some accountability in some way. And I'm sure it's not what he specifically meant, but it's like, dude, you're in a media that is going to twist the narrative so much and going to make you look like the devil in any way possible if there isn't producing on the field. Because even though we can, you know, talk about a bunch of numbers and everything about the team, New York wants one thing and one thing only, and that is results. That's all they care about. If they don't get it, they're going to rip your head off no matter what. Does not matter. They want that 100%. Frank, is there anything you want to add?
Yeah, I just have, like, since Soto doesn't like the way he's being pitched, I got one more idea for the Mets. If Alonso's playing this well, why not, just for a little bit, put Pete second and Soto third? Because then Soto would have more ABs with men on base, then maybe he'll get pitched a little differently because he doesn't like the way he's getting pitched. But then he'll have to deal with what Pete Alonso deals with, and have Brandon Nimmo batting behind him, who's not very good right now, so then he really won't get pitched to. So this is kind of what we're saying, is that, like, if you think you're only getting pitched to now, it could be so much worse that, like, he doesn't even know. You know what I mean? Like, there's just, like, he should be, like, fortunate that he's here. And, like, people were mentioning in the chat, like, he told Steve Cohen, like, please get me Pete. Like, after the Mets gave him this money, like, they're like, oh, you know, please get me Pete, like, for protection and everything. And then you're still gonna say, oh, well, it's not Aaron Judge. Like, come on, man. You know, like, that was just really... I didn't like it, so we'll see. I mean, like we said, it's still early, so we're not flipping out yet, but it's only year one, guys. It's only year one, and he's played in New York before, so...
This is the thing. This is the problem that I have with this, is that I'm not trying to have... Someone said it in the chat, I don't know who it was. I'm not trying to have another Lindor type of first year in New York, where it's not just the full-on results, it's just kind of how everything came as a shockwave to him. And obviously he's learned from his mistakes. He's been more of a leader recently, and, you know, we've talked about him being a captain now. He's the captain of the Team Puerto Rico now. But you know, we've talked about him as a leader in 2021, and it was lackluster. It definitely was. But I'm not trying to see, you know, off the field stuff distract us. And if that's the case, then we're going to have an issue. I don't know if there's just some kind of adjustment from going to pinstripes to a Mets uniform. But I feel like this is something that, even though I don't want to amplify it as high as some people are, but it goes to show. It's like, well, you were in New York for a year already before you came here. So it's like, you know what it's like here. And I know that, you know, maybe this is not going to be relevant next week. Maybe it won't be. But, like, It's only April. It's only April, right? 18 games have been played. That's it. So things can spiral. We've seen things spiral before. So I'm not trying to say that it's nothing, but it's a nothing burger to me if he does perform in the next game. And I'm not trying to say he's an if man here, but I'm saying it's like, I know what he's capable of. So it's not like I'm just sitting here and saying, well, maybe we just didn't get the guy. The guy's there. He's 26 years old. He's in the middle of he's in the prime of his career. He will get those pitches. He will see the ball better at some point. And and he will get out of this entire thing. That's how confident I am in him doing that, because he's shown it before. I know that he can. It's just the fact that the Mets offense has not been good. He's obviously going to be in the center of it because he got $765 million to hit like the next Ted Williams that he's been seen as since he was brought up to the majors. So obviously he's going to be in the center. Anything he says right now with the Mets not producing offensively is going to be taken, whether it's out of context or whether it's going to be, from an instance where, they just don't want to hear it no matter what. They don't want to hear any excuses. We saw Lindor talk about the errors that he's made recently. He said that's not acceptable. That has to change. And to be honest, of his caliber of player, of how he's carried himself, half disregarding that first year, which was very bumpy, we trust him to do that. We trust him. Not to mention, of course, the pedigree of how he's one of the best defensive players in the game. So we trust him that it will happen. And if it happens again, then we'll start asking some more other questions. But speaking of wrapping up this crazy week of Mets baseball, which had tons of injuries and scratches and debuts and kicking the ball around the infield, wrist failures. That's actually not crazy. That's been happening all year. Let's wrap this up the best way that we know how, of course, with everyone's favorite segment, Studs and Duds. One player that played well in this series that we want to give flowers to. One player that did not, we want to hold accountable and stare down. Andrew, I'm going to start with you with your stud. I think that there is going to be a raging response if it is not one certain person. But if it's not, you're going to have to deal with the punches, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty obvious. I mean, you think about a guy who got a lot of criticism in the offseason when he was brought in. I mean, Clay Holmes. I mean, he's got to be getting out of that jam and, coming in, getting out of there, 10 strikeouts, 10 punches. I'm kidding. He does deserve some flowers. I'll give it to the White Bear. He, hit a homer, drive in runs in the middle of the rally. I'll give the White Bear his little cape. Good for you. Again, Wilmer Flores is better than you, bud. He's got more RBIs. But you know what? He's pretty good right now. He's doing okay. I'll give the White Bear. I'll give him a cookie.
You're really just asking for it, are you? Okay. Frank, your stud?
Yeah, I mean, Alonso definitely was the obvious one. So I'll take a different one. And even though I was critical of some of the mental mistakes he made, but overall for this series, like the totality of this series, I'll give it to Luis Angel Acuna. I mean, I really like what I saw, especially in Game 1. He was on base a ton. He's finding different ways to get on base. Like I mentioned, there was a game where he bunted and he got on base and he's stealing bases. So it's like he's making a lot of things happen. He's making nice diving stops in the infield. He's showing his range at second base. And he's just showing why, listen, he's the better player than Brett Beatty. He should be starting over Brett Beatty. And it looks like, since he got to start in every game in this series, it looks like that's the way they're going to go until McNeil comes back. And honestly, they might have to try him in center field. You know what? I don't love it, but if Taylor's not going to be playing great defense anyway, then what's he doing? You might as well, Cruz can give you something. You might as well try it out. You know what? You got to try because, like we say, the definition of insanity, same thing over and over. Series leg is broken. He's out of the mix. So Acuna, he'd be one of the other options. Could Gilbert be in the mix at some point too? Sure. But you got to work with what you got right now. And people who are in the major leagues and have showed you something in the major leagues. And like we said, Acuna, slowly but surely, with that consistent playing time, which you and I talked about a ton, Carson, because he had other games where he got on base multiple times and then sat the next day. But this time, they're trying to build off it, give him that consistent playing time, and they're being rewarded by it. So as long as he could just not make some of those mental mistakes he makes, like trying to cover the ghost that's running to first base, or knowing where the ball is when he's sliding headfirst into second base, he'll be fine. But, for right now, at least he's showing us much more of what he's capable of being a competent player, at least offensively.
Yeah, I mean, he's not, again, like we've said, he's not a world beater by any means. He is not going to dominate like his brother has since his career has begun. But how his ability has been showed, it's something that the Mets have been lacking, something that they have been missing. And if he can apply himself 100%, and I don't know if that's what's been keeping them from giving him the keys at all to second base while they wait for Jeff McNeil to come back. I am really at some point, like, I know that this kid can do something for us. I'm not expecting him to be amazing, but I know he can do something for us. But, when you're seeing like these mental mistakes that he was making, I mean, I had him down here, and then the kind of the mistakes that he was making today kind of took me out, and I kind of canceled it out. And the same thing went for Soto, because like I had the first two games, he homered back to back, and I was like, okay, he's starting to get into the groove. And then today happened, and I'm like, he's just kind of a zero right now in the stud and dud spectrum that you want to say. I'm going to give it to Huskar Brazaban. 2 fantastic innings in game 1 of this game, and then opening today with a 1-2-3 inning. I also could throw Justin Hagenman in there because he had a really, really good outing as well. But I mean, again, there were some good performances here. Winker had some good hits in this series as well. Still not at the full 100, pretty much the entire lineup at this current moment. But as for some duds, there are some things to point out here, and we've talked about it many times. Andrew, I will swing it right to you. Dud for this series.
Yeah, Tyrone Taylor, again, defensively, again, doing nothing. Offensively, he's giving you nothing. And again, I was listening to, I forgot where I heard it from, where it's like, David Stearns has, everywhere in his big league career, has had Tyrone Taylor on his roster. But he's never trusted him to be an everyday outfielder. They always want him to be the fourth outfielder. So, again, I would
he's fine at. I don't have an issue with him as a fourth outfielder, but with the way this team is constructed, he's their starting center fielder, and it's kind of crazy.
Yeah. At the moment, yes.
At the moment, yes. And that's why I do expect, again, and we've seen it with Stearns in a Mets tenure. We say it all the time. He's done it. The 26 you started with is not going to be the 26 hell on April 29th. I'm not saying there's a fucking trade coming tomorrow, but I wouldn't be surprised, again, if it's maybe another Alex Canario out of nowhere type, prospect that failed somewhere. I can think of a few, or a team that, just hoards them till they're 40. But, again, that box isn't going to open for a couple months. But, again, just the fact that, again, he's now going to play every day in center field, and the fact that we're going to potentially put Jeff McNeil in center field, because that's how desperate we are, and Brandon Nimmo going back and playing in center field. God, I miss my Aura King.
Anyway, Frank, I'll go to you.
Yeah, I mean, there's a few guys I could go with, but I'm going to go with Jose Butto, for what happened today. It's one thing to complain, like we said, with the umpire, a bad thing with a pitcher, you should know the guys on second base, but just in general, the outing was not very good because overall, he gave up 4 hits, he gave up a walk, gave up 2 runs, and the Mets lost by 1 run. So he's been okay this season, but they were talking about the broadcast that like he thinks that teams are too focused on changeups, so now he wants to throw a slider, and his slider ain't all that good. So it's like you might as well just stick with what was good in your changeup. So like it is just very interesting that he's trying to change this stuff up, but it's not really working for him. So it was just not a good outing. You want to blame the umpire for one hit, fine. What about the other 3 hits? What about the walk? That's not the umpire's fault. So if he made a bad call, fine. But there's other things that you could do as a player to make it not even matter. And you could have also made up for it by throwing the guy at home plate, but instead you're too busy arguing. So 2 wrongs don't make a right. So don't pitch bad, and then don't argue with officials about your bad performance in some instances. I'm talking about Mark Winker for that one, but he didn't do himself any favors by arguing with the umpire at first base.
Yeah. Again, there's days where things just don't go your way, and that was one of the things for Jose Budo, but it was definitely amplified, cost them a run as well, even though it technically shouldn't have. Those are the types of mental mistakes you can't make, like we have said. Brandon Nimmo. Rough series for him, swinging first pitch so many times in this series, amplified. I'm not gonna panic yet with him. Stop batting him fourth. Stop. No more. If you need to lower him the lineup, fine. I prefer him in a certain position.
Did you like Marte hitting fourth?
No, but I like plenty of people hitting fourth over Marte. Like, I don't know, that tree outside of my window. Either way, that's another thing. But again, there's a different way that I would construct this lineup, of course. But I really think that there's a balance to Brandon Nimmo's game that he's not really able to play with right now. In the cleanup spot or batting fifth but again, it's not really anything that I know he's going to eventually snap out of, because he still has been hitting the screws off the ball. But again, the swinging first pitch, that's something that we do see, from someone who's been right at the plate. That's something that we see from that. And in these situations, I've been very, very shocked from somebody like Brandon Nimmo doing that, who we know throughout his career has been a good situational hitter. And so far, he hasn't been. So that is pretty much what I would say with this. Other guys that I want to call out completely. Speaking of, not just Starling Marte batting fourth is an issue, but this guy laying down a fucking bunt for a hit and then jogging down to first base. What the hell? This is another thing I'm saying. It's get your head out of your ass. Please, for the love of God. What? First of all, why is a cleanup hitter bunting in general? Why is anyone bunting in general these days? Because this isn't 1940.
When the bases are empty.
And the bases are empty.
When you're second and first and you work at Whole Foods and your team can't score, bunting is not a bad idea.
That's fine. It's all about the situation. But the situation, the bases are fucking empty. You're trying to bunt for a hit, and then you're like, oh, that wasn't that great of a bunt, so I'm just going to jog to first base. Do we understand how big...
When the pitchers have struggled to throw to bases, especially in Minnesota, they talked about the Twins could not throw to base. Yohan Duran is bouncing it to second base on pickoffs. You're just automatically assuming that you're out. That is
and I'm
such
sure
bad body language.
36-year-old Starling Marte.
Carson, wait a minute. This is our veteran leader. This is the oldest guy on the team that's supposed to set the example for the younger players. That's the way he acts on the field.
Yeah,
that's your oldest player on the team.
Oh, no.
That's your veteran leader that we kept around $20 million for leadership. There's your leadership.
No. Well, I mean, you already know how I feel about that. But it's again, first of all, if you're batting fourth, why are you bunting? Why does anybody bunt at this point? It's fucking free outs. He's not going to beat it out because his entire lower half doesn't exist anymore. Do we understand? Literally, can we stop the bullshit, please? Just stop the bullshit. Do we understand how big of an embarrassment this is, that this guy is the designated hitter on certain occasions? Yes, Jesse Winker has not been great. Yes, he hasn't been, but he at least gives you competitive ABs. And yes, I know that Jesse Winker hasn't been great. I'm sure he had an illness as well, too. He hit well today in the cleanup spot. But this is what I meant when they brought back Winker. This was my fear, that they were going to platoon these two, and it was going to be a massively expensive platoon for guys to just hit singles against the opposing pitcher. Meanwhile,
he can't even hit a
Marte's
single.
just sitting here. He can't even do that.
Yeah.
And then he'll get some kind of RBI double in the middle of 10 games, and then it's all going to be forgotten about. This is embarrassing. It's an embarrassing. This is a weak platoon. It's weak. It's very, very weak. Again, it's just like, I need the designated hitter has to be someone who doesn't chase and who mashes. Something that Starling Marte does not do and can't do anymore. Maybe he could have done it 4 years ago, but it's not 4 years ago. 4 years ago was 2021. I know I feel like I'm just going on the same tangent every single time when I see Starling Marte exist, but he's not the same player anymore. This is embarrassing. It is embarrassing to see a $20 million platoon DH bunt and then jog to first base. Why? For what reason? Not to mention every ground ball he hits on the ground, because there's many that he hits. Plenty of ground balls that he hits. What was that shit in Sacramento where gets completely overshadowed by that big RBI double he had or whatever? He's jogging to first base, and then he's like, hey, nice play, man. What are you doing?
What about Tyrone Taylor giving Harrison Bader a hug for making a diving catch?
Yeah.
Bader killed the man. Of course he did, by the way. I mean, of course Harrison Bader.
It's because of you.
And
it's because of you. It's your fault.
No, he was hitting the ball on the ground a ton, though. And we know Bader's great in April. But listen, when it's the second half of the season and he's not facing the Mets, that's where we'll see the real Harrison Bader show up. So that was just all around very, very interesting experience. But I just want to finish up on Budo because I pulled it up. We're talking about the slider usage. So in 2024, he was using his slider 13% of the time. It was his fourth most used pitch. Now this season, it's up to 35%. It's his most used pitch. So that is pretty interesting. And there are some slider locations where he's leaving it like right over the middle. So I don't agree with that change as far as like how he's going about attacking hitters right now this season.
I don't know. I have no clue what some of the thought process is. And Emezy's saying Soto tried to bunt and jogged to first base as well. Did that happen? I don't know. I know he's jogged to first base a few times. But again, I just it's the type of stuff. It's like run things out, make the right decision, be smart, use your head, please. It's not even just like, oh, this guy's stats are great or his numbers are great. Use your fucking head, please. And I'm saying this in April so I don't have to say it in July. That's why I'm saying it right now. I am saying it right now as the devil that I am, because they're in first place, 11-7, and they have a great win-loss record. I'm saying this right now so I don't have to say it later on. That's why. Because 162 games are played, and some of the decision-making that these guys are making, it's not going to hold up. Because you're not going to be 11-7 for so long. So again, these guys just like, I just use your head, please. That's the moral of the story today. Use your head. What are you thinking? And at this current moment, whatever you're thinking, do the opposite. Unbelievable. I don't even know what to say anymore. It's like just from everybody. Budo screaming at the home plate umpire, not paying attention, or screaming at the first base umpire, not paying attention. Acuna trying to catch a ghost at first base and then not looking up but stealing the base because he's sliding head first. Pete Rose is dead. We don't do that anymore. It's like, dude, these are simple things that are like, they should be habitual. These should be standards that you do routinely. And we're seeing them screw them up, and it's going to cost them. It cost them today. Whatever. But they're 11-7, so shut up and fucking eat your dinner. Watch it. Enjoy it.
Yeah, like I said, it'll be interesting once we do get to face the better teams and how this goes. We'll see. I mean, I am very fascinated because right now they just have not been playing well. And you know what? Like we said, the pitching has bailed them out a lot of games, and the defense has bailed them out some games, like particularly Torrens. But I think overall, like they've stranded a lot of guys, but like I said, the opposition has stranded a lot of guys as well. And I feel like once you're facing those better teams who aren't stranding the base runners as much, it's going to be much tougher to win games, obviously. So, it's like, fix it now. It's kind of I talked about with Diaz, where it's like, fix it now. Don't wait until it's like the actual tough teams to start figuring things out. Like, a lot of this stuff is just, it's very silly. Like you said, it's sloppy. It's just stuff that shouldn't happen, but it continues to happen. And it's just really frustrating. And, like we said, there's just not, no one's holding each other accountable. There's not much leadership. Because like I said, for Mendoza, like I feel like he has other stuff to worry about. Like, you have to prepare your team for the next game for St. Louis and, the matchups and stuff like that. But it's like, how do you review all the stuff with them? Like, when a ball, like it should be like when a ball is hit, it's a right center field. Like you go here, you go here. Like if they don't know that, then just, forget it. Like if you don't know that stuff and to slide and to hustle, like you shouldn't have to go over this stuff with your team. Like the fact these guys are not giving anywhere close to 100% effort is just really crazy. And what's interesting to me is that like if you're not hustling in April when your body should be fresh, how are you going to be like later in the summer where you're going to be very tired and it's going to be a long season, you have nagging injuries? Are you going to hustle then? If anything, that's when you probably wouldn't. So if you're not hustling now where you don't have a heavy workload, like that's also another concern too.
Yeah, I don't even know how to even explain altogether, because like I feel like we've broken it down as best as we could here, but it's just like you got to be better than that. Like you just have to. Like it happens so many times on these plays. And listen, I know that they're relying a lot on the defense with, not as much explosive pitching, and I'm sure that they're, going to be able to, get more from these starters once things pick up, but it's like, Jose Iglesias ain't here anymore. Like you don't have your savior of magic and everything. I mean, who knows if they're going to find that again? And again, it's that lightning in a bottle situation. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. Maybe somebody is a breath of fresh air and helps them throughout the year and we get another one. But right now, it has to be executed the right way. Because right now, we know that this is a talented team. We know that it is. It has a lot of talent on it. But again, talent doesn't mean shit unless you play the right way. And that's what you're seeing right now. It's just sloppy. And you're getting bailed out because you're playing teams that are just as sloppy as you, that are just as discombobulated as you. You're going to play teams that aren't at some point. So it's not like, you're just going to keep playing the Marlins and Twins and A's forever. It's not going to happen. It just isn't. But hey, whatever. Speaking of teams that they are going to play, let's actually preview this upcoming St. Louis series that will be at Citi Field. It's a 4-game set, their first 4-game set of the year. And we have Griffin Canning for Game 1 going up against Andre Palante for 7 o'clock on the 17th, which is tomorrow. Griffin Canning, obviously, as we know, is scratched from his start today. They gave him an extra day rest, and he's going to be back in there tomorrow. So hopefully everything is good to hear for him. Game 2 will go to David Peterson against Miles Michaelis. That will also be at 7 o'clock on SNY. Kodai Senga, we'll see what the pitch count is and what the situation is there, but he will get Game 3 against Matthew Liberatore. That will be on Fox at 4:05 Eastern Time. And then Game 4 of the series will go to Clay Holmes against Sonny Gray. Now, we know that the Cardinals are not, this isn't the franchise that they used to be. Andrew, you can attest to that, obviously. But I mean, I don't actually know what they're up to. I've been so distracted by what the Mets have been doing on the field.
Yeah, right now they're 9-9. They won
Okay.
today against the Houston Astros 4-1. So yeah, they're 500 teams. So again, this still is not one of those great teams, like those big litmus tests you want to see, so to speak. So that's still not what. There's not the team that you're really like, oh well, the Mets played really good against this team, so they're going to be fine. Like this still isn't one of those teams yet.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens here. I know St. Louis has actually been off to a decent start offensively. Nolan Arenado is off to a really good start. I'm pretty sure, what's his name's hot. Andrew, help me out. What's his name?
Red hot. Yeah, Newt Barr is red hot. He's homered through his last 3 games. Wilson Contreras has been god awful. You're getting Brendan Donovan. I think he's on an 11-game hitting streak.
He's hitting 380 right now for Donovan.
He's in an 11-game hitting streak. Obviously, you got your annoying guys like Ciani in the outfield. Jordan Walker has showed some better strides. Pitching wise, you're not getting Fedde. He's been awful. Palante's been their best consistent pitcher. Obviously, you see him in game 1. Michaelis depends on the day. He's had 4 starts. 2 have been great. 2 have been god awful. And you get him with game 2 against David Peterson. Sonny Gray is just kind of what he is at this point. He's fine, and Liberatore just shut out the Phillies on Sunday, so he's coming off a good start against Philly. The bullpen, good buddy Phil Maton is setting up Ryan Helsley elitely. The middle relief guys, Kyle Leahy's had a pretty good year. Again, it's early bullpen guys. Like they have kind of those swingman guys as well. But again, it's not a great team. It's solid, but again, it's a team most likely selling at the deadline, so it should be a team you should beat. Yeah. But again, good teams are supposed to beat them. The record is what it is, but they're just they're beatable. I guess is the easiest way to say it.
Yeah, it's not like they maybe it's considered a trap team for a team that's like not confidently playing baseball like ourselves. But this is a team that you definitely should beat. Let's just say that. I know that they're doing a 6-man rotation. I'm pretty sure, right? They've been doing...
Well, they had Steven Matz start today for them, and he pitched really well. I mean, he's at a 2.16 ERA for the season. He went 5 innings of 1-run ball against Houston.
Wow.
So that's been good to see. But, I mean, to Andrew's point, Maton has been absolutely incredible so far this season. I mean, right now he's working on about... he's at like 9 innings of work so far, 0 earned runs. So, I mean, that'll work. 0 walks. Like, who is this guy? So, I mean, there you go. Good,
he was
good job, Jeremy Hefner. So
he was good.
And then the playoffs happened.
Yeah. And then the playoffs happened. He was doing that with us, and then.
But Andrew, didn't they get almost like a minor league deal because he signed so late? Like, I feel like he got close to nothing by the time it was all said and done.
Yeah, it was a minor league deal. He got $2 million bucks. And then he started a couple games in Memphis, and then he's been up with the big league team. And setting again, Ryan Helsley, which Helsley has, like most closers around the game, has been okay. Had a massive blow up in Boston last week, but overall, again, he's still 100 miles an hour with his curveball. So again, don't go down late.
And this is like now 3 series in a row. You had Mason Miller, then you had Duran, now you got Helsley. So like you faced like literally 3 of the biggest fireballers in all of baseball, closers back to back to back.
Yeah, and then you get Philly after that. You get
Alvarado,
who's got ridiculous stuff. But I mean, listen, I think at some point they're gonna have to clean some of this stuff up because you can't be winning baseball games like this. It's just not gonna happen. But I do know that there has been a lack of playing up to potential in St. Louis. It's been a constant with them. So we know that, they've had a low floor recently offensively. As for some of these pitchers, we know that they kind of just hunt for innings. They're not a team that really hunts for stuff. So again, if they leave something over the plate, don't stare at it. That would be cool. Don't swing first pitch when somebody can't find the strike zone whatsoever. Nimmo, I'm looking at you. Please stop that. Be Brandon Nimmo, please. And work the count. Have competitive ABs that I know you're capable of. There are adjustments that need to be made throughout this entire team. They have to play better baseball. They have to play better than this. I don't give a shit if they are 11-7. I don't care if they're 18-0. They're playing like crap. They are. And I'm saying this in a brutal, honest way, because that's what we are here. They're not playing good baseball. They're not what their record says right now. If your pitching has been good, it can hold up. But Andrew, you can also relate to this. I'm not trying to be the Seattle Mariners. I'm not trying to be them, where the pitching just puts them in the margins and they're relevant because of that starting rotation.
Hey, they got 7 runs tonight. I don't want to hear the disrespect today.
Oh, shut up! So did the Mets offense today. Yeah, so did the Mets offense before. I've seen them do it before. That means they do it all the time.
Hey, it's Ben
Jesus
Williamson,
Christ,
saving the franchise. There you go.
This is my message, and I will turn it, guys, over to you to close this one out. And I've said it many, many times throughout this episode. Get your head out of your ass. It's not a hat, okay? You wear a hat. It doesn't need to be your ass. That's all I ask, okay? Stop making these bonehead decisions. Think. Use a brain. I know some of these guys are here for their athletic ability and not for their brain, but use your brain. I don't say that in an insulting way. I say that in a way because I love you. Okay? I have love for all of you, and I want you to do well. Stop being idiots. Please. Okay? Those mental mistakes, they're going to cost you. It just cost you a series. Don't allow it to spiral. Frank, I will go to you on some closing remarks. Mm-hmm. I don't know what else has been said. We're already past 2 hours. Not a fun series.
Yeah, like you said, don't make mental mistakes, but also it's like the stuff that you've been taught your whole life as baseball players. I mean, just go back and think about how you got here. Like all the things you had to do to get here, all the fundamentals you went over, like I said, little league, middle school, high school, college, minor leagues, now in the major leagues. Like think of all that stuff. So, and for me, my thing is hustle. That's something that like you don't need to bring for. That's just be instincts. Hustle. If you're bunting, especially run. You know, like if you have a close play, slide. Maybe a pop-up slide, feet for a slide, for bonus points. But just in general, slide, run hard. Like these things sound basic, but they don't do them. Like they said, they don't do the basics. They're not getting the fundamentals down.
The kids these days.
So at least get that done. So, you know, while we're talking about old stuff, on April 16th, I mean, that's the day of today, 1987, Darryl Strawberry hit what was the Mets' 2,500th career home run. So for like the franchise. So just keep that in mind as we close it out.
All right. Oh, yeah. Yesterday, by the way, what was it? Aaron Heilman had a complete game shutout. Oh, yeah. You want to you want to keep bouncing these off in 2005? That was his last year with the team, right?
No, it wasn't. He was there next year to blow a very important game.
We got a Thomas Sapucki and Aaron Heilman name drop on a Mets loss series. You know we were in the shitter when we're going there.
Well, you know our motto here.
And you know
whatever happens, happens.
Yes. I have to deal with Chip Kelly and Brad Thompson over the next 4 days. So it'd be nice if the offense would score some runs so I don't have to hear them talk, because normal St. Louis, commentary, usually when the other team does something, they shut the hell up. So it'd be nice. Pitching's been good. Again, you're going up against two guys that you should hit. Palante and Gray, you should win this series. You got your ace on the mound with David Peterson on Saturday. Again, it's a series you should win. And please don't let me rip my hair, because, again, I have to suffer through Cardinal commentary and not Gary, Keith, and Ron.
That's rough. It hits close to home for you. Once again, please do not play with your head up your ass. Okay? That's cool. Anyways, I think we're going to wrap it up here, of course. For those of you in here watching live, for those of you watching on playback, hope you guys enjoyed the conversation. For those of you watching or listening on playback, you want to join the conversation in the future live, make sure to subscribe to the Mets Weekly YouTube channel and turn on post notifications to not miss when we do go live, which is following every single series of games during the regular season. Make sure to follow Mets Weekly on X and on TikTok. Follow all of us individually. And of course, going into a 4-game set, which is a 7-game homestand, like we said, play better than that. That would be nice. And finally, of course, let's go Mets. We will see you guys next time.